It was a late Saturday night at a lively house party thrown by mutual friends, the kind where music pulsed through the rooms and laughter echoed everywhere, when I spotted Mia across the crowded living room, her cheeks flushed from one too many drinks as she danced carefree with a group of people we both knew from college days long past. We had always shared this unspoken tension, flirtatious glances and playful banter over the years, but nothing ever crossed the line because timing was never right or circumstances got in the way. Yet tonight she seemed bolder, weaving through the crowd until she stood right in front of me holding a half-empty glass, her eyes sparkling with liquid courage as she leaned in suddenly, attempting to kiss me right there amid the chaos of spinning lights and thumping bass. I gently caught her shoulders, stopping her just inches away, feeling the warmth of her breath and seeing the surprise in her expression. And I said softly but firmly, "If you were sober, I'd make the first move." Her lips parted in a small gasp, a mix of disappointment and intrigue flashing across her face as the words sank in, the party noise fading for us in that charged moment where everything felt possible, yet paused by my unexpected restraint. She pulled back slightly, tilting her head with a playful pout, asking why I stopped her when we both knew there was something between us all these years, her words slurring just a bit as she swayed closer again, but I held my ground, smiling warmly while guiding her to a quieter couch in the corner away from the dancing crowd, explaining that I wanted any kiss between us to be real and remembered clearly, not blurred by alcohol or regretted in the morning light. Mia sat down heavily, laughing at herself for being so forward, admitting the drinks made her brave enough to finally try what she had wanted for so long. And I sat beside her, our knees touching as I replied that her bravery was appreciated, but tomorrow, when sober, she might feel different. Yet, if the feeling remained, I would not hesitate to take the lead. The party continued around us, friends occasionally checking in, but in our little bubble, the conversation deepened, her leaning her head on my shoulder drowsily while I fought the urge to close the distance myself right then. As the night wore on, I fetched her water and some snacks to help sober her up a little, sitting close while we talked about old times, the almost moments we shared in college, like that rainy day walking home together, or the late night study sessions filled with lingering looks. And she confessed, slurring slightly, that she always wondered what kissing me would feel like, but never had the guts until tonight's liquid encouragement. I chuckled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face tenderly, repeating my earlier words that if sober she still wanted it, I would make the move without question, because I had felt the same pull for years, but respected boundaries too much to act on drunken impulses. Her eyes softened, hand finding mine on the couch as the party's energy started winding down, guests slowly leaving or crashing in other rooms, leaving us in a more intimate quiet where anticipation built quietly. We moved to the kitchen for coffee, hoping caffeine would clear her head faster, standing close by the counter as steam rose from our mugs, her giggling about her failed kiss attempt while I teased gently that it wasn't failed, just postponed for better circumstances, watching her sip slowly and noticing her eyes becoming clearer with each passing minute. She leaned against me, admitting the alcohol was wearing off and the butterflies in her stomach were still there, stronger than ever, asking half-jokingly if my offer still stood come morning, and I nodded seriously, saying absolutely, because I wanted her fully aware and choosing this freely. The kitchen light cast soft shadows, our conversation turning to what we had been up to since college, careers and relationships that never quite measured up to the what if of us. Back on the couch with fresh coffee, she curled up beside me, head resting on my chest as tiredness mixed with fading buzz, whispering that my response made her like me even more for being respectful yet clearly interested, something rare in her past experiences with guys who would have taken advantage without hesitation. I wrapped an arm around her protectively, replying that waiting for sobriety would make the eventual first move worth every second of restraint tonight, feeling her heartbeat steady against me as the house grew quieter, only distant music and murmurs remaining. She dozed lightly, trusting me completely in her vulnerable state, and I stayed awake, watching over her, thoughts racing about tomorrow and the promise I made. Around dawn, when most guests had left or slept, I helped her to a spare bedroom upstairs, tucking her in gently as she murmured sleepily about not wanting the night to end this way without that kiss. But I kissed her forehead instead, whispering that soon, when fully sober, I would make up for it with the real first move she deserved. She smiled in her half-sleep, hands squeezing mine briefly before drifting off, leaving me in the hallway with a racing heart, knowing I did the right thing, yet aching with the nearness we almost shared. The house was silent now, morning light creeping through windows as I settled on the living room couch to catch some rest myself. I woke a few hours later to the smell of fresh coffee brewing, finding Mia in the kitchen looking refreshed in borrowed sweats, hair tied back and eyes bright without any trace of hangover, smiling shyly as she handed me a mug and said good morning, with a nervousness that mirrored my own excitement. We sat at the table, talking easily about the party and her bold moment, laughing when she admitted remembering every word I said about making the first move if sober, and now here she was, clear-headed, asking if the offer still stood. I set my mug down, heart pounding as I looked into her expectant eyes, replying yes without hesitation because waiting made this moment even more meaningful. Standing up slowly, I stepped closer until we were inches apart, just like last night, but this time with full awareness on both sides, cupping her face gently as she looked up at me with anticipation. And finally, I made the first move, leaning in to kiss her softly at first, testing the waters before deepening it when she responded eagerly, arms wrapping around my neck, pulling me closer. The kiss was everything years of tension promised, sweet and electric, lasting longer than either expected as morning sunlight filled the kitchen around us, coffee forgotten on the table while we lost ourselves in this long-awaited connection born from restraint and respect. When we finally pulled apart, breathless and smiling, she whispered that waiting for sober her was the best decision because this felt real and perfect, no regrets possible. And I agreed, kissing her forehead, then lips again lightly, saying my words last night were sincere and now fulfilled in the best way. We sat back down, holding hands across the table, talking about how crazy it was that a drunken attempt led to this beautiful morning moment, planning breakfast together as the remaining friends started stirring upstairs. Over pancakes, we made side by side in the kitchen, stealing small kisses between flips and bites. She teased about how close she came to missing this by being too drunk. Thankful I held back until the timing was right, making the eventual first move even sweeter. I replied that seeing her sober choice confirmed everything I hoped, turning what could have been a hazy mistake into something solid and promising. Our laughter filling the space as more friends joined for food, noticing our new closeness with knowing smiles. As the post-party cleanup began, we worked together, washing dishes and tidying, pausing often for quick kisses that grew lingering, her back against the counter as I made small first moves, each time proving my earlier statement true. She confessed always having a crush but fearing rejection, the alcohol pushing her forward only for my response to elevate it into mutual certainty. And I shared feeling the same hesitation over years until last night changed everything. By afternoon, when most people left, we sat on the porch swing enjoying the quiet, her head on my shoulder as I initiated another slow kiss under the daylight. No rush or audience, just us exploring this new chapter started by sober consent. She said my line about making the first move if sober became her favorite memory already, turning potential awkwardness into romance. And we talked about dating properly now that the barrier was broken beautifully. We exchanged numbers officially, though we had them before, promising texts and calls daily, ending the day with one more deep kiss at her car before she drove home, both grinning about how one drunken try led to this perfect outcome. I watched her leave feeling lighter than ever, knowing patience paid off immensely. That evening, texts flew back and forth recounting the kiss details and excitement for more, her saying she was glad sober because every sensation was crystal clear and amazing, reinforcing why my words were spot on. I replied that making the first move sober was worth every second of waiting, planning our first real date soon. Days later, on that date at a cozy restaurant, we reminisced about the party night, laughing over her bold attempt and my clever response that safeguarded something special, sharing appetizers and holding hands across the table before I leaned in for another initiated kiss, dessert style. She beamed, saying it felt like a movie moment come true. Our relationship blossomed quickly from there, dates filled with kisses I often started now that the door was open, each one building on that sober morning foundation, making everything deeper and more meaningful. Friends heard the story and called it legendary patience. Weeks turned to months, the party tale becoming our origin story, told with pride, how her drunk kiss try met gentle refusal until sobriety allowed me to take charge, creating trust and respect from day one. We grew closer every day. On anniversaries, we revisited similar house parties just for fun, joking about reenacting but always ending with sober, passionate kisses I initiated, celebrating the night that almost happened differently but turned out perfectly. Looking back years later, still together, we agreed my response that night was pivotal, turning impulse into intention and drunken advance into lasting love, proving sometimes waiting for clarity creates the strongest bonds. Now, in our shared life filled with daily affection and kisses I often start just because, that original line remains a cherished quote between us. Reminder that respecting sobriety led to the best first move and happiest ever after we could imagine, all starting from one tipsy moment handled with care and promise.